Yeah, I want to welcome each and every one of us to this wonderful session. Uh, we want to appreciate every one of us for being part of this program since we began um, last week. And we know that mental health problem is a big issue all over the world. In fact, around the world, there are over 200 million people that are suffering from depression. And you can imagine that out of that huge number, Nigeria alone has 50 million. That is massive. And that is why there is urgent need uh, for us to stop the tide so that we don't have a calamity in our hand. And this is one of the ways that we believe we can provide support for the society, for our community, and for those who might be going through mental health challenges. Uh, Unfortunately, people look down on people with mental health uh, challenges, but mental health is a biological problem like any other sickness. It's just like when you have a malaria or you have a cancer or you have a diabetes. It's not even like malaria, it's like a cancer or diabetes or any other ailment that people have. But when people have cancer or they have diabetes, nobody looks down on them. Essentially, mental health problem is a sickness of the brain. It has nothing to do with what a person can become in life. If the person is well supported, well cared for, I can assure you they can live a healthy life. And once again, and that is why this program is very, very essential so that it will be a platform whereby people can learn what they can do to prevent mental health uh, problem from occurring. This is more or less like uh, a preventative measure or a recovery measure. It can serve as a preventative and as well as a recovery measure. And we've looked at the choice to be happy, and we've also looked in Unit 1, and we've also looked at the choice to live with purpose, uh, to the choice to live a life of purpose. And then in this unit, which is Unit 3, we're going to look at the choice to live with peace of mind. Haldrud said, and I quote, he said, "It is by those only who are truly great that virtue is esteemed more than riches or honor, or that virtuous action can be duly appreciated." So, in other words, we want to ask ourselves this very important question: what is virtue? What is virtue? Virtue, simply put, is can be described as the contents of your character. It is what makes you, you. What makes me, me. What makes you, you is what we call a virtue. And we are all expected to live a virtuous life. And when you live a virtuous life, one of the things that it does for you is that it guarantees peace of mind. When you understand who you are, what you represent, it helps you to live your life with serenity and tranquility. So one way to exhibit greatness is to learn how to exercise calmness even in the midst of storm. And let me tell you, when you are a man or a woman of virtue, nobody can unruffle you. Nobody can play down on you. Nobody can look down on you. Your virtue, the virtuous life that you have upheld for yourself, will help you navigate any difficult terrain, no matter how difficult the situation may be. You will always be in control of it, and you will always know how to weather the storm. So let's ask ourselves, what is peace of mind? Now, to guide our conversation, let's hear this quote from Hans Landers. Hans Landers says, one of the secrets of a long and fruitful life is to forgive everybody, everything, every night before you go to bed. But what do you find in our society today? You see somebody who has wronged you, they offended you, and you vowed that you are never going to forgive that person. It's like the adage we have in Yoruba that says, a child that says his mother will not sleep. Do you think he or she also will sleep? Both of you will be awake. So if you think you can prevent somebody from making progress, you are also in a way blocking your way to progress. So one of the virtuous life you can live as a man or as a woman is to learn to forgive. Because when you don't know how to forgive, there is no way you can live in peace. There is no way you can have peace of mind. So I just want to ask us, we've had that powerful quote from Hans Landers, that one of the secrets of a long and fruitful life is to forgive everybody, everything, every night before you go to bed. So I put it to you, what is peace of mind? What does it mean to you? What does peace of mind, what does it represent in your own world? Yes. The floor is open. Let's unmute and then contribute. That is the beauty of this class. Yeah, Joy Idowu says virtue is a positive force that changes things. Yeah, a positive force that changes things.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. What is virtue to me? A virtue is a good or useful quality of a thing or of a person. Good or useful quality of a thing or a person.
Yeah, the virtue. That's the content.
Yes. So and the question you ask is, what is peace of mind?
Yeah.
I think peace of mind to me is when you are at utmost. I don't want to use the word peace again to avoid tautology, but when you are comfortable with things around you, when you are at ease, when you know you are at ease with things or situations. Thank you.
Thank you. When you are at ease, you are very comfortable with everything that has your name on it. You are just at peace. Like you said, you don't want to use the word peace again. You are just at ease with yourself. Nothing is moving you here and there. Nothing is pressurizing you. Nothing is making you to feel agitated. You are just yourself, you know. Yes, do we have somebody else?
Yes. Good afternoon again, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, this is Adenike. So for me, on a lighter note, I would say peace of mind is being able to sleep well at night.
Wow, that is absolutely correct. If you can't sleep at night, that is problem. The beginning of mental health challenge. When you can sleep very well and you can sleep comprehensively.
Yes.
That is absolute peace of mind. You are right on point. Thank you.
Yeah. And I would also like to add that peace of mind is the ability to be contented with with the space you are at that very point in time. You know, when we are contented with where you are, with the people around you, with what God is doing around you, you know, there's this calmness around you.
Yeah.
That we regard as peace.
So in a way, there is a lot of relationship between peace of mind and just being contented with who you are, what you have, what you represent, and everything about you. You are exhibiting this calmness every day of your life. You know, now the contentment doesn't mean that you have to be complacent. You know, some people are complacent and they take it for contentment. That is not what we are talking about here. Complacency is when you are doing nothing, you are contributing zero to your progress. That is not equivalent to peace of mind. That is not equivalent to being contented. Contentment is contributing the best you can and then believing that whatever result that comes from that is what is a justifiable result for that moment. And I can see somebody, this should be Mayowa, saying peace of mind often involves finding a balance and harmony in various aspects of life, including one's thoughts, emotion, relationship, and external circumstances. And I also think somebody, Joy Ido, also says peace of mind is when your brain is calm. If your brain is thinking 1001 thing, you know, that is when the mental health crisis begins to set in. You see, these philosophies, they are very simple, but unfortunately, a lot of people we flounder them, and because we flounder them, we get ourselves into trouble because we believe that they don't really matter, whereas they are the most important thing in our life. There are people who are very rich, but they don't have peace of mind. You will soon discover that if you are rich and you don't have peace of mind, you will soon discover that that riches does not make any meaning. And that is why a very sensible man will always want to give everything he has just to have a peace of mind. So peace of mind is very, very essential if we must maintain a healthy mental health. And that is what every one of us need. You know, I did a little research and I discovered that every one of us, particularly those of us who are millennials, who are under the age of 35 and below, we represent the 70% of the population in Africa. And all of us who are in the workforce, who are in the labor market, it has been estimated that 2/3 of our life will be spent in the workplace. And you can imagine all kinds of obstructions that happens in the workplace. You are not meeting targets, production line is not moving, your service is not very effective, you are feeling agitated, customers are getting angry, your boss is not happy with you. You know, all these things can compound and create a mental problem for somebody. But when you understand these principles we are trying to put together, and you practice and operate them in your life, then you will know how to handle some of these life challenges. So thank you everyone for all your wonderful contributions. I think, I believe Mayowa was referring to virtue. We were talking about virtue the other time, and it was trying to correlate, maybe substituting the word virtue for value, as value referring to the worth, importance, or significance that something holds. It can be applied to various aspects of life, including principles, beliefs, objects, actions, and qualities. Thank you for bringing that to our understanding. Toby also says, Mother Teresa said, and I quote, "If we don't need guns and bombs to bring peace, we need love." Oh, no. Let me take that again. He said it should be, we don't need guns and bombs to bring peace. We need love and compassion. So he said, peace of mind is when we have a loving mindset towards our friends, family, and neighbors. So when we have this compassionate attitude towards everyone that surrounds us. And that is the reason why you have to learn how to forgive people, no matter what wrong they have done you. You have to forgive and just allow your life to be robust and to continue to enjoy the good things that life has to offer. He also said, and we are filled with compassion to live our everyday life with our fellow humans. So it is very, very important to have this compassionate attitude towards people. When you have a compassionate attitude towards people, it helps you to live a life of peace. Now let's wrap up our conversation by saying peace of mind means that you are free from stress. When you are stressed up, you will lack the ability to exhibit calmness within your spirit. And one of the sources of stress in any human's life is true unforgiveness. And that is why you really, if you are somebody who doesn't forgive people, you really need to work on that. It will make you to live a life of turmoil. So you need to learn how to let go so that you can live. So our leadership mindfulness thoughts, absolute serenity is only found in God. That is without doubt, because the scripture says that will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you. So you can only find that peace that we are talking about. You can only find it in God. And I think it was Jesus who was also telling the disciples just before his ascension. He said, my peace I give unto you, not as the world gives. So there is a kind of peace that the world gives. It is temporal, it's a temporal peace. But the peace that Jesus gives is an everlasting peace. So that is why absolute serenity can only be found in God. And every other source of peace is a counterfeit, no doubt about that. There may be many unnatural peace out there that looks like cosmetic surgery, which is a far cry from the authentic peace we're talking about. Now let's move on. Now let's ask ourselves. I'm not sure anybody here can effectively tell us that he has never been fretful before, that he has never exhibited anxiety and worries in his life. And I'm going to share something that is very close to this. On Sunday, in the morning of Sunday, I did overnight in my workplace, and I came and I was going from my workplace to my house early Sunday morning so that I can be ready for the church service. And somehow my wallet, I don't know how it's, it just disappeared. And I couldn't figure it out whether I left it in my office or I left it in the house. I didn't know its whereabouts. And I have two important services that Sunday. I did the first service. I didn't even realize until after the end of the first service. So by the time I was preparing for the second service, which was also a birthday Thanksgiving service of one of our members, and we were expecting a huge number of people to come to service. And we were already prepared, the natural thing, and I was to drive from one state to another state, which means I wouldn't be able to use my driver's license. But what did I do? I tried to apply the principles that we have been learning in this School of Transformational Leadership, particularly in this executive wellness leadership program. So I decided to apply, instead of allowing worries and anxiety to take the best of me, I remained calm. I didn't even tell my wife. So we went for the service. We conducted the service. It was very successful. I was the one who preached. I didn't allow that to impact my sermon. I did the best I could. And after we were driving back home, that was when I was sharing with my wife that, so happened. And by the following day, I was thinking, should I wait till Monday evening before? Because if your driver's license is missing in this country, in the US, you have to be able to declare within 24 hours that your driver's license is missing so that you can get a replacement. And I didn't want that 24 hours to pass. So I just decided to take the necessary action. I blocked all my cards so that nobody will be able to have access to it. And I quickly applied for another driver's license. And do you know that just about 2 hours after I had done everything, because it took me the whole day to be able to sort the whole thing out, my wife just called me. I was already at work, that they found my purse somewhere within the house. I just said, what kind of, but we already understood this principle that in such a situation, you need to understand how to maintain your calmness. And that's what this lesson is all about. There will be turmoil, there will be chaos, there will be circumstances that will make you to feel agitated, that will make you to feel anxiety. In the midst of those troubles, you need to learn how to exercise calmness, and just as we have been talking. So the question is, where does anxiety and worries comes from? Now, to guide us in this conversation, I have just shared my own personal experience with you. Now, let's listen to what Charles F. Kettering has to say as a wisdom quote. Charles F. Kettering says, it doesn't matter if you try and try and try again and fail. However, he says it does matter if you try and fail and you fail to try again. So in other words, you must never give up on whatever you do. You must learn to keep pushing on. You must learn to be resilient and resolute and determined that you are going to get results for whatever projects that you have put your hands upon. So let's have a conversation together. Where does anxiety and worries come from? Particularly, you want to use your own life. For you, where does it normally come from? Where do you think anxiety comes from? I want you to share part of your experience with us. Yeah, go ahead.
For me, I think anxiety, fear comes from me feeling I'm not doing enough. Like me thinking I could have done better, or probably me telling myself I shouldn't have done that after I've done it. So I think sometimes it brings anxiety.
Weight of anxiety upon you.
Yes, and then I'm married, just newly married, and at the same time, the life you live as a bachelor. For me, I'm talking in my own perspective now.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want.
you tend to be you tend to be responsible for yourself alone. But right now it's a different ball game entirely, because you don't only have yourself to cater for now. You have especially as a man, even as a woman, you have a responsibility to at least protect the interest of your spouse. And also sometimes you get worried, the anxiety comes in that am I really doing the best? Am I playing my part well? Am I not a disappointment to my partner? All these things come up every now and then. So I think this is a very very deep one that really touched me, and it's actually fear of you wanting to do more. You don't have the ability, you don't have the capacity to do that, and all. Then share biases as well. You want to you really want to do that too. So sometimes you tend to have a lot of things, a lot of good, bad thoughts, a lot of bad thoughts, a lot of good thoughts, to keep coming together. So I think for me, it has to do with accomplishments, what I tend to accomplish, what I tend to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your own anxiety often comes from when you think you are falling below the expectation you have set for yourself. That is absolutely correct. Anxiety can come from that when you hold yourself to too much of a standard, and if you are not really meeting up to that standard, it can bring anxiety. Joy Idowu also says anxiety for him comes, or for her comes from overthinking, and I think that's one word that I recently came across in one of the articles that I was reading on LinkedIn or thereabouts on Twitter. Overthinking. Sometimes when we have an issue in our hand, the tendency is to overthink the solution, because we are so much obsessed with finding a way out of the situation, and then rather than just be simple about it, we began to complicate issues. And I think I really understand what Joy Idowu is talking about, that when you make a simple issue and you make it to become complicated, that can bring anxiety. And that is what overthinking does, turning something simple into a complex situation. Thank you for that contribution. Yes, do we have somebody else?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
I contribute. Okay, so this question reminds me of a particular scripture in the Bible. Yeah. I believe it is Philippians 4:6, which says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in all things, through prayers and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your request known to God." So I think the Bible has even helped us to, to bring out the answer that anxiety comes from, the lack, so to say. When you lack, the things you lack, the things you feel you should have.
Yeah, and you're not having them.
Yes, and you don't, Mr. has rightly said, and that you don't yet have. Those are the things that bring anxiety. Exactly. Those are the things that bring anxiety into our lives. It is lack of something.
Life.
Lack of this, lack of that, lack of this. It could be anything. Yes, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be money. It can even be love.
Yeah, lack of love.
Yeah, it can be anything. So it is lack.
Lack of affection.
Lack of affection. So I think that scripture has also given us the solution to it. But since we are not talking about the solution, we are still talking about the problem. I just like to bit at that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Now you guys, you've contributed very powerfully, and I get it. When we lack something that we believe we ought to have, we ought to have in our life, and we don't have it, of course, the next phase is to become anxious. And just like she rightly said, the Bible already told us the way out of it: be anxious for nothing.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Sorry, I'm sending text. I'm actually coming back from work. Okay, everybody actually say one or two things, but I just want to add to it.
Is that Emmanuel?
It's when you have Mayowa.
That's Mayowa.
Okay, Mayowa, okay. Yes, your voice sounds like Emmanuel's voice.
Okay, when you have the fear of unknown, or maybe you don't have the knowledge of a thing, let me use unforeseen circumstances, things that you don't really know whether it's going to be a positive thing or negative. Okay. Actually, that can lead to anxiety too.
Exactly.
Because there was an experience I had then. We always have 4 exams per one course in my department. Then when I was in school, we were going to write oral exam, we write CBT, we write theory, we're going to write staple test. So anytime we are going for oral exam, the fact that I don't even know the score or what the man will give me, there's this anxiousness I carry. Like everybody is tense, the whole atmosphere is tense. Even what you know, you're not able to say it. So the fear of unknown actually too can cause anxiety too.
The fear of unknown. When you don't know what the future, and something. Let me tell you something. Now, mental health problem is more predominant among children or among young adults from the age of 14 to around 25, 27. That is the age where, not that it doesn't happen in other age groups, but that is where the biggest challenge is. The age of 14 to 25, 27. And the simple reason is this: that is when you begin to have this sense of, how is my future going to look like? How am I going to sail through life? Am I going to be able to have a good life? Will I be able to find a good wife or good husband to marry? Will I be able to find a job that will make me live a comfortable life? When the pressure of all this, and you are not able to predict the future with certainty, particularly in a very volatile environment like we have in Nigeria, for example. It compounds the problem, and then it leads to mental breakdown. And that is why this executive wellness leadership program is very, very key, so that we can help a lot of people to navigate this journey. And this is what we are doing with this program. Like you said, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what the future holds can also lead to anxiety and worries. Thank you. Now let's begin to wrap up our conversation. If you don't have a peace of mind, or no, not that, if you don't want to have a peace of mind, all you have to do is to continue to do all the wrong things that you can ever think of in this world, and the rest will be history, because peace of mind will surely elude you because of your bad choices. So in other words, we need to be mindful of the choices we make in life. And that is why we said you have to choose peace of mind. If you don't choose peace of mind, you are calling for troubles. You are calling for chaos. You are calling for unrest in your life. So you have to make good choices. And if you want to have good peace, if you want to have peace of mind, you have to make solid good choices. And if you don't want to have a peace of mind, just continue to do the wrong things. Continue to smoke, continue to womanize, continue to do this, continue to, steal money from people, or just continue to do all sorts of things you can imagine. The cumulative result of that is that it will cause you to have unrest in your life. So we have to be mindful of our choices, and it's very, very important. And here is our leadership mindfulness thought. Our leadership mindfulness thought is what we should reflect upon and then be determined to act on as we progress with life. Our leadership mindfulness thought says, if you want to conquer anxiety and worries in your life, learn to prioritize the reading of the Holy Scriptures daily. You need to learn to prioritize the reading of the Holy Scriptures. That is how to conquer anxiety and worries in your life. You have to learn how to take your trouble to God and learn what God has to say concerning that trouble that is in your hand. So we need to learn to prioritize the reading of the Holy Bible. When Adenike was trying to offer solution, even though we were not asking for solution, where did she bring the solution from? From the Bible. He said, be anxious for nothing. So if you are not reading the Bible, you won't even know that God has already said something about that you shouldn't be anxious. And do you know that some scholar did a research and they discovered that the word be not fearful, or be not afraid, or be not dismayed, that those words occur, or that particular phrase occur 366 times in the Bible. 366 times. So in other words, for every day, there is a fear not word from the Lord, that you shouldn't be afraid. And in case you have a leap year, there is also one reserved for you for a leap year. So every day of your life, God has something to tell you that don't be afraid. You can conquer. You can take this world by storm. You can take over territory by just doing the right thing. Now let's go to the next question, which is asking, how can I have harmony of the spirit, soul, and body? Because when you are talking of a peace of mind, we are not just talking about you just having peace in your mind alone. There has to be a congruence between your mind, your spirit, and your soul, and your body. If there is no congruity, in all this space of your existence, you can't arrive at peace of mind. Peace of mind has to take place in your mind. It has to be reflective in your body, and it has to be reflective in your spirit. So how do we come to a point of harmony as we launch ourselves into this? Now, to guide our conversation, John W. Gardner says, all of us celebrate our values in our behaviors. When we began this conversation, we began with what is virtue, and we talked about virtue being the content of our character. And here, John Gardner is saying that every of our value is celebrated where? Within the context of our behaviors. So when you say you have a good value, or when you say you are honest, it is not by just saying it that will make people to believe you. You have to be able to demonstrate it. That is how you can align your value with your behavior. And that is when peace of mind comes in. If you can't integrate what you say with what you do, then there can never be peace of mind. So I believe I've already given you a lead to this conversation. So I want to hear from us. How can I have harmony of spirit, soul, and body? You may choose, of course, I want to hear what you will do, not what you think somebody else should do. How can you have harmony of the spirit, soul, and body? Go ahead, let's unmute ourselves and joyfully contribute. Are we still there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. How can I have harmony of the spirit, soul, and body? A deep one, sir.
Deep one. Is.
It's a deep one. So, that is okay. This also brings me to another scripture in the Bible. I think that would be 3 John 2, which says, I wish above all things that thou mayest be in health, even as thy soul prospers.
That thou mayest prosper and be in health.
Be in health, even as your soul prospers. So, which means that even God, He wants us to have it all.
He wants you to have it all. Exactly.
Yes, He wants us to have it all. So, and if God wants us to have it, one thing I have come to discover is that He doesn't ask us to do what He has not enabled us to do. Whatever it has not given us ability to become, He will never ask it of us. So, which means that it is possible to have harmony of the spirit, of the soul, and of the body. And to have this, number one, I think the most important thing is that you need God. And by God, I'm talking about God the Spirit. That's the Holy Spirit. Yes. Because for you to be able to have the three at once, you will need the Holy Spirit to be helping you at every point in time. To be teaching you things, telling you things, is the only one that can probe your inner mind. Even you don't have that ability. And one thing I discovered about the Holy Spirit is that the grace to live in harmony is what he has given us through the, I think, the fruit of the spirit.
Yeah.
That's the 9 fruits of the spirit.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through them now, but we can all read them in, I think it's in Galatians 5:22 or so. If I'm wrong, sir, can help us out.
I
So
think it's in Galatians, but I can't specifically say I think it's in Galatians chapter 5, but I don't know the verses.
Sir?
I think it's in Galatians chapter 5.
Sir?
It's in Galatians
verse
chapter
22.
5. Yeah, but I'm not sure of the verse.
I think it's in 22.
Okay.
So what am I just saying is that just be good. Do what God. Don't try to do everything by your own power. Don't be everything. Just rely. Have a backing. For me, that's the only way you can have harmony. Have it all. Once you are not, it's not by our power, not by our might, by His Spirit, says the Lord of hosts. Once you can put everything on God, once you can rely on Him, like He has rightly said that be anxious for nothing. Even this one, you cannot do it by your power.
Exactly.
Even though He desires it of us, but it is not by our power. It is not by our mind. It is still by the grace of God. And when you rely on Him for everything, He will enable you. He will give you the capacity. That is, for example, now, when you need to be calm, talking about the fruit of the Spirit, He will enable you to be calm. Do you understand? When you need to, but now, when you need to keep fit, maybe you just need to take like 30 minutes walking a day. It will give you the grace. It will give you the wisdom, the ability to do it. Your soul, the things you need to feed your soul. Do you understand? It will enable you. And the times that you will need these things, you may be feeding it right now, and you probably don't even need it. But the day you will need it, it will remind you. For example, now, when I probably didn't know that we need Philippians 4:6 to be able to contribute. But I've read at some point in time, and when I needed it came.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think everything depends. See, it boils down to, putting your own confidence, your own reliance, trusting in God with all your might, everything. Just once you put that trust and you know that He will be able to help you in whatever capacity, then I think you'll be able to have harmony of the spirit, soul, and your body. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that elaborate conversation on the question asked. Now, just to corroborate what you have said, I would also like to have that, to have the harmony of the spirit, soul, and body actually calls for consistency in your behavior. Consistency in the sense that you are not like a chameleon. You are what you are yesterday, you are the same person today, and you are the same person tomorrow. Like Jesus Christ said, He said, I am the same yesterday, the same yesterday, the same today. He was speaking through the writer of Hebrew. I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. That is consistency. And that is what you need to have peace of mind. If you are not consistent, if people cannot rely on what you say, when somebody tells you he's going to do something for you, or maybe he's promising you a huge amount of money, but through his body language, he says it with his mouth, but through your own understanding of his body language, and you are able to read something different in his body language, are you going to believe that person is going to give you the money promised? You are not going to believe, because there is no consistency in what he's saying and with the behavior he's putting up. So every time for us to be able to experience this calmness we are talking about, this peace of mind we are talking about, there has to be a line of a line where what you say and what you meet intersect and then become one before you can have the harmony. If there is no intersection, if there are parallel lines that can never meet, that's what we were always told when I was in secondary school, as I was a junior person in secondary school. The senior will ask you to lift up your hands and raise your hand, and it must be parallel. And when a line is parallel, they can never meet because they are wise apart. So when our character does not match what we say, it becomes a parallel line that can never meet. And that is not going to ensure peace of mind in our life. But when there is a point of interception, a point of congruence, like when River Niger met River Benue, they called that section confluence. There must be a point of meeting. There must be a meeting point between what you say and what you do. And it is at that level that peace of mind is generated. Do we have any additional contribution before we go to our conversation summary? Do we have any addition? Now, let me just say this as our conversation summary, that what does it mean to celebrate your good values? And here is how it works. If you say that you are honest, it is not by professing it in your mouth that makes it valuable, but rather in behaving it. You have to behave what you say. People don't believe what you say, they believe what you do. And that is why what we do is far more superior than what we say. Our government across the continent of Africa will say one thing, but they end up doing something different. But we have to allow our words to align with what we do. And that is where we have the birthplace of the peace of mind. Now, here is our leadership mindfulness thought. Our leadership mindfulness thought says, be generous with forgiveness to everyone that have wronged you to enjoy perfect peace in life. You have to be generous. You have to live a life that is larger than life. Be forgiving, be open-minded. And when you have these qualities, it will enhance your own peace of mind. You won't have anything to worry about. Now let's go to the next question. How should I respond whenever I have a troubled mind? What should be my response? Adenike was saying the other time when we're asking, where does anxiety and worries come from? And he said, at this level, we are not trying to find an answer to that question. We are to deal with that challenge. Where does it really come from? But I believe at this section, at this point, we're now beginning to seek for answers to how to deal with anxiety and worries when they eventually shows up in our life. So how should I, now you might want to personalize it and tell us how you are going to respond when you have a troubled mind. And to guide our conversation, here is what Amelia Earhart says. He said, courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. Now let's engage with the conversation. How do you want to respond whenever you have a troubled mind?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone again.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. I am really happy with what Adenike said in previously, not by power, not by might. The whole explanation she gave and the ones you actually elaborated, I think they are lovely, they are worthy of note. So to give response to this, I think we have to understand that gratitude sometimes, even when you are you have a troubled mind, you have there's anxiety, you are worried about something. I think for a moment we should pause and be grateful to think about the things we have going good for us.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what brings anxiety are majorly wants from my own point of view. I want this, I want that. It could have been this. I shouldn't have done. As in, it's rally around personal individual wants, like what we want. Like we wanted this to happen, want this to happen. We want. I think from my own point of view, though. So I think for a moment, if the way I think we should respond is okay, even for the fact that we have life, there's this breath in our nostrils.
Yeah,
I think it's worthy of note to like we are supposed to note that okay, at least when there is life, there's always hope, and at the same time we should be grateful for what we have, because so many people want to be where we are, while we are looking at people that are far above us. There are so many people that are still wishing to be where we are. So I think to me, we can use that approach of gratitude, like even though you know you want it better, you want to be more. We wanted more, but at least we should be grateful. We should be full of gratitude for what we have, the things we have going good for us. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that is very, very important. We need to demonstrate gratitude for what we have, for who we are, and just be appreciative of how far our Maker has taken us. So we have to show gratitude. Thank you. Do we have any addition?
Thank you so much, Mr. Toby. I call him Toby, but I think it's Toba. Mr. Toba said it already.
It's Toby.
Gratitude. Okay, Mr. Toby. Okay, Mr. Toby has said it. It's gratitude. With Thanksgiving, you make your request. Because if you don't even come with Thanksgiving, God will not hear you. God will not hear you. So you have to be thankful, grateful for what you have before there can be a turning point. But then I still want to say that, like we all know that to him that is joined to the living, there is hope. As long as you are still joined to the living, there is hope. A living dog is better than a lion. Yes. So if you are joined to the living, at whatever situation you find yourself, at whatever point in time, maybe you are in the midst of a storm, but once you can look up and look down and you realize that you are living, then that means there is hope for you. That means there is hope for you. My pastor always says that where you are, my pastor is a known pastor, so I can as well mention his name, Pastor David Oyedepo. He always says that where you are is somebody else's prayer point. Where you are at that particular point in time that you are still not grateful for is somebody else's prayer point. Somebody else somewhere is praying hard to God to get to that place where you are and you are not grateful for. So once you can have this thought at the back of your mind, I think you'll be able to respond better in a more matured manner, a much matured approach, have a much more.
That's very powerful. You know, we have to show gratitude for where we are and for what we have. You know, just like she said, where you are is somebody else's prayer point. You know, can you think about that for a moment? And where you want to be, or where somebody else is also your own prayer point. So we are all aspiring to, we are all, what somebody has achieved is a prayer point to another person. So the whole point is for us to be grateful. Because when you are grateful, the Lord will show himself strong on your behalf. Now, I think Damilola also said we can respond to anxiety by talking to people around us, like our friends or family members, about how we feel. And I think that is also important. Like we normally say, a burden shared when you share your burden with people, you take half of the load off your head, because you can then have people who are going to empathize with you and who can even possibly provide a way out of that predicament. But I would just say there is a little bit caveat in that we have to be careful about the people we share our problems with, because it is not everyone or everybody that can truly be helpful for you, that can provide healthy resource or support for you. So we have to be careful in doing that. But though it's important, we can't rule it out, but we also need to be careful so that we don't share our problems with people who are going to help us to multiply the problem. So we want to share our problems with people that are truly burden bearers, people who can provide solution out of our predicaments. Now, I also want to say, in addition to all that we have all said, which are very, very important, and I believe they are, and I also want to say that above being grateful for what you have and for who you are and for where you are, you also need to be courageous. You need to be courageous, because it takes courage to look at difficult situation in the face and be determined that you are not going to be deterred by it. It takes courage. And I believe that was the thing that God was trying to reiterate with Joshua. Be thou courageous, because the situation Joshua found himself at that time was a chaotic situation. Moses has just died. So there was a vacuum in leadership in Israel. And here is Joshua, a servant of Moses. It wasn't even a colleague. It wasn't even Aaron. It wasn't even Miriam. It wasn't even among the foremost elders in Israel, the 70 elders. And here God is asking him to step into the shoe of Moses. He needed courage. He needed to be courageous. He needed to be strong. He needed to demonstrate that with God on his side, he will be able to do it. So I also want to say that we need a good measure of courage to be able to respond to difficult situations. If you are not courageous, you will become a cheap prey for the enemy. The enemy will overrun you quickly if you are not courageous. So we need to demonstrate our courage in everything that we do. Now let's summarize our conversation. When you are troubled in your mind, don't be in a hurry to make any rash decision. Courageously take it to the Lord in prayer. Leadership mindfulness time. The truth is that we need space, time, and calmness before we can arrive at a self-decision. So we also need to understand the benefits of we need to understand the benefits of creating space for ourselves, creating space, and then giving ourselves some time to process what we are going through, and then to exhibit calmness, even in the midst of that trouble. And then, of course, when we take this into consideration, then we can then effectively arrive at a sound decision. So you don't want to take your decision rashly because you are anxious, because whenever you are anxious or you are worried, don't take action. Don't decide. Don't make any major decision or any life major decision whenever you are anxious. And that is one principle that I learned from Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was the 15th or the 16th president of America. And when he was the president of America, it was during his time that there was a civil war in America. And Abraham Lincoln has this philosophy and principle. After 3 p.m. or maybe from 12 to after 12 p.m. in the morning, in the afternoon, it doesn't take any major decision that will have a multiple effect on the country, on the or around the world. It doesn't make the decision. It would like to sleep over the problem and then ponder over it before he arrives at a solution. So when you are troubled, don't make a rash decision. Take your time. Give yourself some space. Give yourself some time. Process what has happened and then make informed decision. Now, the last question which we are going to consider: why is having peace of mind important to human flourishing? Why is it important to human flourishing? Now, to guide our conversation, Thomas Fuller says, "He that cannot forgive others breaks the bridge over which he must pass himself, for every man has need to be forgiven." That is it. So why is having peace of mind important to human flourishing? Let's engage in the conversation. Why is having mind important to human flourishing?
Why is having peace of mind important to human flourishing? I will go by the quote. I was reading a whole lot about Mother Teresa prior to this class, and I think she's one of the foundation patriarchs, or is it patriot to say patriarch? Pardon my grammar. Yeah. Of peace. She's a peace-loving person. Yeah. She's one of people that all her life revolves around peace. And she said and probably I quote, he said, "If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other." that was a quote from Mother Teresa. If we have no peace, it's because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Every one of us, we are responsible for each other. So I think having our own personal peace is paramount to our neighbors having their own peace. Because when we are troubled, for instance, as a family person, if I'm troubled, I am 99.9% sure my wife is troubled.
Exactly.
Because I would probably transfer aggressions, or I would not do what she wants, or So I think having our own peace of mind is way important to humans flourishing, because we belong to each other. Family wise, you might not even be the one that you'll be having anxiety because of yourself. You might have anxiety because of maybe your dad, your parents, probably they are sick, they want to go to a surgery, they want to you can, you know. So I think it has to do with us as an individual having our own peace, because you can't give what you don't have.
Exactly.
You cannot give what you don't have. So it is quite important for us to have our peace and for us to be able to transfer peace, show compassion to others, for all itself to flourish.
Yeah, by learning to value one another. Learning to value one another. Thank you very much. Do we have any addition before we go to our conversation summary?
Oh, yes. I just want to add to it. Peace of mind is actually important to human flourishing, because number one, if you are not the type that follow, that live in peace with all men, that means you continually be having grudges, holding offenses, and many things, many vices against your fellow human beings that you're supposed to be living in unity, in peace with. And if you're continually having this kind of issue, which means that you probably be a bitter person, a really bitter person. And if you're a bitter person, there's no way you can flourish, because there are things that probably be the type that can, cut your nose to spite your face. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you cannot afford to be out of peace if you want to flourish. In fact, you'll be so consumed with the grudges you're holding against these other individuals that you will not see the lights pointing in the direction of your next level. So I just want to say that it's very important for us, Lord, to avoid bitterness, to avoid offenses. Not that they will not come. Even the Bible says, be angry, but don't sin. So once they come like that, just, have forgive in advance. That's what we practice in Christendom. And that's why it's Christians, that is believers, should be flourishing. If we are all practicing it, we should be flourishing if we are all practicing it. So we must, for your own good, for your own flourishing, for your own progress, we must, learn to live in peace, follow after peace with all men. That's what the Holy Bible says. And I think we need to do this to flourish. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We need to learn that we belong to one another.
Sorry, please. I would love to add to something she said, to just buttress it a little bit. There is a person called Dalai Lama, and I think he said a very important thing that I'm checking on my other device now. He said, "Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. If you wish to experience peace, provide peace for another. Where ignorance is our master, there is no possibility of a real peace." Dalai Lama said that.
Wow, that's very powerful.
Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. If you wish to experience peace, provide peace for another. Where ignorance is our master, there is no possibility of a real peace. So we must not feign ignorance. We must be, for us to flourish, we must be sure that, okay, what we are giving is not make-believe. We are genuinely at peace. We are genuinely not carrying any bitter pills around. With that, we'll be able to flourish. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was a very beautiful quote from Dalai Amalia Dalema, or how did you pronounce the name? That was a very beautiful quote from her or from him. Now let's go to our conversation summary. One important contribution of peace of mind to human flourishing is longevity. lack of peace of mind can truncate any man or woman's destiny before the appointed time. Another contribution of peace of mind to human flourishing is the ability to gain accelerated progress. Now, here is our leadership mindfulness thought. Peace of mind is important to our flourishing because it helps us to avoid damaging the bridge over which we must pass ourselves. Thank you. Do we have any question before we move to the next lesson, which is Unit 4? Do we have any question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Concerning, there was a time Dami said for us to be, I'm referring back to Damilola's response that we need to talk to families, talk to friends, talk to Alice. That means I'm taking us back to the topic before.
That's okay.
Yes. So the question I want to ask there is, like you rightly said, you said we need to be extra careful in talking to people.
Yeah.
So what do we do in a situation whereby we thought we would get a solution by talking to a particular person, but instead, the problem became compounded? What do we do in that kind of a situation?
Well, I think before you open your mouth to share your problem with people, you don't want to share your problem with people you don't already know can provide a succor or a healthy support for you. That is why mentors are very, very important. Some of these people we are talking about, people to share your burdens with, they don't necessarily have to be your blood brother, your blood sister, your parents are good sometimes, but there could be other resourceful people that can help us, that can help us process the challenge that we are confronted with. So you want to take your challenges to people you already know have the wealth of experience to provide a succor for you. So you don't just want to share your problem with somebody that don't have anything to offer. And that is why mentors are very, very important. The reason why you call somebody a mentor is because you know the person is resourceful, is more experienced than you, is more knowledgeable than you, and he has a kind and a large heart to be able to accept the situation as it is with you. So you don't want to share your problem with people who are going to help compound the problem. So that is what I can say. I don't want any of us to fall victim that all in the name of sharing your problem with people, just share with people that will end up destroying you. The Bible says you should not cast your pear before the swine, lest they look upon you and they tear you down, and they trample upon you and tear you. So you don't want to share with people that will end up destroying you. You want to share with people that will help consolidate and help you to be better than who you are presently or currently. I believe I have supplied a answer.
Yes, you have, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other question? Do we have any other question? Okay, if we don't have, we can move to the next slide, which is Unit 4. Just give me